I am so excited to continue with part 2 of my Easter egg series. Welcome back to Honey Clover. I'm Neradis, and let's get into the hidden clues you might have missed in Tears on a Withered Flower. Let me preface and remind everyone that this video will include spoilers, and it is not a full recap but an analysis of all the Easter eggs hidden in each chapter. The full recap will be in a separate video. So without further ado, let's pick up where we left off. We've tackled the hidden clues from chapters 1 through 12 in part 1, but before we continue, let me give you a brief recap of what the manhwa is. Tears on a Withered Flower is set in modern Korea, where we are introduced to a chaebol heir, Taeha, parading himself as a poor guy who then befriends our female lead, Hee-soo, a beautiful, kind-hearted divorcee, and our resident villain, Kang Min-chul, Hee-soo's former husband whom she stayed with for 13 years despite being divorced. Yoon Ari, Min-chul's new boo who he has physical relationship with. That is where we left off. If you haven't seen part 1, please check out my previous video. We continue to chapter 13 with the 8th clue, tattoo on Taeha's arm. The root of all evil is attachment, is a Buddhist proverb which means clinging to desires. Expectations lead to dissatisfaction and suffering, as everything is subject to change. An attachment theory dealing with how people form and maintain emotional bonds primarily stems from their initial interactions with a parent or someone important from childhood. For Taeha to have it tattooed on his arm must have been influenced by his father, but that's just my guess. Despite permanently engraving it on his arm, he is but obsessed with Hee-soo, even acknowledging, "I like her too much." The 9th clue alluded to a flashback in chapter 14, unrealized promise by Min-chul to Hee-soo, where Hee-soo was reminiscing the past. Min-chul promised a lifetime together, a wedding, a diamond ring, a honeymoon which we know never happened. However, this might still come true, but fulfilled by a different man, foreshadowed by the Easter egg with chapter 47 cover, Taeha putting on a diamond ring on Hee-soo, or chapter 52 cover, them sailing on a boat. In the same chapter, the 10th Easter egg was presented as a new bodyguard named Lee Jae. A playful banter breaks the awkwardness between Taeha and him burying someone. Over time, Lee Jae learned to read Taeha's expression but is still baffled by his actions. Lee Jae, during his first encounter, mentioned he wanted to light a cigarette of a boss as that of a noir movie. Taeha then takes his pocket lighter. Noir denotes a dark theme and a subject matter, generally featuring physical relationship and violence. The author is basically confirming that this manhwa is going to be dark with serious themes. We later find out Taeju instructed Lee Jae to report back to him whenever Taeha acts out of character. Baffled by the task, he doesn't know what information Taeju wants. In chapter 50, it is revealed that Lee Jae has a dragon tattoo on his back. Generally, a dragon is a symbol of change, protection, and power. A dragon is also known to be a guardian god that invites good fortune. I'm assuming Lee Jae may turn out to be Taeha's ally in the future. My theory was put to the test in chapter 51, proving he wasn't Taeju's mole, but he isn't Taeha's ally yet. Perhaps we'll see how he places in Taeha's life in season 2. But something is bothering me. Does this mean all of Taeha's bodyguards do not report back to Taeju? Because remember, in chapter 2, he asked for coffee and sandwich when he was at the flower shop. Okay, this one I'll give it a pass. But what about chapter 9, when Taeha asked his bodyguard to book all the remaining rooms so that Hee-soo can go home early? And another scene in chapter 10, when he was handed photos of Min-chul's infidelity. On to chapter 15 for hint 11, first snowfall. Traditionally, in some countries, if one witnesses the first snowfall with someone they like, it leads to falling in love and lasting relationship. But Hee-soo was too preoccupied to see the beauty outside Min-chul. Until chapter 19, that is. We jump to chapter 18 as the story has now come full circle. Hee-soo's nightmare in chapter 1 manifested the demise of her first love. Ironically, another subtle clue was laced within the chaos of the betrayal. Taeha calling Hee-soo his first love. It was in this chapter that a new kind of love is seeping through the cracks. Although in turmoil, Taeha kept his composure, comforting Hee-soo in her misery. And the most prominent Easter egg is Taeha himself. Throughout the first 18 chapters, the biggest mystery so far is Taeha. Why is Hee-soo his first love? What experiences has he endured to be able to demonstrate such level of maturity despite his youth? How does he fit in the overall storyline? Based on my assessment of the timeline, we are presented with Hee-soo and Kang Min-chul getting married in the past, Hee-soo getting pregnant, then lost the baby, got divorced, incurred a massive debt, caused by Minchol, presently living together to pay off that debt, banking on the promise of remarriage. Haesu meets Taeha, a chaebol who disguises himself as a poor guy, while Minchol meets Ari, a carefree, well-off 25-year-old adult who he has a physical relationship. Over the course of 18 chapters, Minchol was gaslighting Haesu to keep her in her shell. How will these interweaving storyline conclude? Furthermore, if what Minchol said to Ari was true, then why does he get to work at the company if he didn't go to college, while Haesu had to juggle 3 to 4 jobs? In chapter 53, it was hinted that Minchol was a parachute hire. The term parachute hire is when someone gets an opportunity to be brought in the organization because of personal connections. Who was this powerful person who placed Minchol in the company? And why was the loan under Haesu's name? What happened to the baby? How did Taeha and Haesu's path cross? What about the past? Why is Taeha so invested in Haesu, seemingly to the point of obsession? So much questions, and I'm not even halfway through my Easter egg series. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with my assumptions and my Delulu theories? Let's discuss in the comments. And I'll see you in part 3. Matane!